and welcome to Punk 5 Pop. I'm Punk 5, and today we are gonna discuss The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1. Now, this last Friday saw the return of the near faceless Mando and the baby Yoda, and yeah, I could do a full review of the episode, but I feel like you can go to so many other places on YouTube or all over the internet to get a review of the episode itself. Just generally, I know a lot of great YouTubers I follow have already done that. Instead, I want to discuss the issue that The Mandalorian Season 2 is already falling into, a similar issue that Season 1 was falling into, and that is going to start plaguing Star Wars as a whole, I think. Now, what I mean is that this first episode of the second season felt like an endless series of callbacks. As just like Rick would point out about Men in Black 2.
I have Men in Black 2 in here.
So you get the general idea.
Not quite. It's basically an endless string of callbacks
All right, save it for YouTube.
There's not a whole lot of originality here. It is just a long series of callbacks and memberberries. They have, almost right off the bat, a callback to the Solo movie with the gambling pit. And then, oh look, Gamorreans. Remember Gamorreans from Jabba the Hutt's palace, everybody? And already, even at that, I was just like, oh, come on. Then, right from there, we're going to Tatooine, where we see a Tusken Raider and a Bantha. Remember all that, everyone? Remember episode 4 of Star Wars? With Banthas and sand people? It's just so frustrating. You could go to so many other places, but no, we're gonna go right back to freaking Tatooine, see the woman who babysat the baby Yoda once before, and we'll just get a long bit of footage of her pit droids and a chunk of a pod racer. Remember pod racing and pit droids from episode 1? Because everyone really loved those from the Phantom Menace, am I right? Who didn't love pit droids? Around screwing everything up. So much fun. It felt right from there. I could see where this was heading, and I was just getting increasingly concerned. Especially, like, the woman calls up this map, wants to call up a map to show him where this town is, where he's supposed to find a Mandalorian, another Mandalorian, who can guide him on his quest to bring Baby Yoda back to the Jedi, which has its own narrative issues. But in order to do that, pull up that map, right? Who does she call over? Why, none other than R5. Remember R5? The droid who malfunctioned at the Lars farm when the Jawas were trying to sell him in episode 4? Well, look, everyone, 30 years later, he's still in Mos Eisley. He's still... I mean, come on, R5, right? Huh? Huh? Yeah? Yeah, remember R5? You remember? You remember? Yeah. I mean, come on, man, damn. Get some shot of Mando speaking to Tusken Raiders, because, as they established before, he knows Tusken, the Tusken language somehow. And he ends up in the town he's looking for that was an old mining town that got wiped off the map. And he's told that their local sheriff, basically, is somebody who they don't think is Mandalorian, but he wears Mandalorian armor. And just as Mando turns around, what do we see? What do we see, everyone? Friggin' Boba Fett's armor. Boba Fett. Remember eaten by a Sarlacc, Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi? Well, now this rando in this dilapidated mining town is wearing the bounty hunter to end all bounty hunters armor. It's all beat up. It's still got the dents and the scratches that you remember. It's got the jetpack and the chest and the helmet. And I was just like, oh my god, why? Why? Like, that's just a member berry to almost end all member berries. You threw this man down the throat of a giant monster. So what are we going to say here? It's like in the EU where he somehow managed to crawl out, abandon his stupidly expensive armor in the middle of a desert, a hostile desert, and just wandered off and left it for, apparently it was Jawas, to scavenge it. Because that's where this guy's saying he got it. He got it from Jawas, who found him out in the desert, about ready to die, in their sandcrawler. Remember Jawas, everyone? And sandcrawlers? And let's be clear, this isn't just any Jawas. These are the red-eyed Jawas we all remember. Isn't that fun? I think it's fun. Oh, God. So, Mando obviously ends up wanting to take this armor back because it's part of the Mandalorian code that only Mandalorians wear Beskar armor. And so he makes a deal with this guy. If you help me kill this crate dragon that's terrorizing the town. Remember crate dragons? Obi-Wan doing the crate dragon call and stuff? It's fun, right? Just think back to all the old stuff, everyone. Crate dragons and whatnot. So he's made a deal with this guy to help him kill the crate dragon in order to get Boba Fett's armor. Why he doesn't just shoot the man in the head, I don't know. I mean, doesn't have a helmet on for so many times. And for that matter, he doesn't even have all of Boba Fett's armor from what you can see. He's only got the upper half of it. So he wouldn't even be recovering all of it. But getting back to my point, they make this deal. In order to do that, they go to check out the crate dragon's lair and try and seek out help from the local Tusken Raiders. So they're out in the desert, and what do we see this guy wearing Boba Fett's armor riding? One of the pieces of Anakin Skywalker's pod racer. I'm not bleeping kidding. One of the engines of Anakin's freaking pod racer. Still, I mean, most of it's still there. It's very obviously Anakin's that this guy has just repurposed into a speeder somehow. How you take a third of a pod racer and turn it into a speeder, I don't know, but it was just so cringy because, my God, why would you do that? You're pulling from almost the entire OT, and now you're pulling more and more from the prequels. And the prequels, even. Then you go right back and we see the explosion of the second Death Star over Endor, because apparently somewhere out there was a rebel fighter either doing a live stream or recording that thing blowing up. Because why not? I mean, we're in the middle of a battlefield, but we gotta get that money shot, fool. I mean, right? Oh, it was just so dumb. And just after the Boba Fett callback, and then the Crate Dragon, and then Anakin's pod racer, which is just sinfully bad, before moving right into a massive scene of the Sandcrawler and the original red-eyed Jawas, since they got all that flack about orange-eyed Jawas the last time around with season 1. I mean, damn. How many callbacks can you actually make? Oh, and I just remembered the Gonk Droid. Remember the Gonk Droids? And I do love Gonk Droids, but sawed off. Like, seriously. What is your damage? You got the head from the droid that was sitting next to C-3PO when he woke up. The other protocol droid with the funny face from episode 4. The more I look at this episode, the more callbacks I remember that they were going for. Like, come on. There's got to be a damned limit here. Either take this shit seriously and come up with something new, or just re-release the original trilogy and the prequels on Blu-ray or something. Because otherwise, that's all that you've done. You haven't accomplished anything of actual note with this episode, and you did a lot of the same stuff in the first season when you went back to places like Tatooine and X-Wings, and oh, there were so many callbacks in that. But this is just by far the worst they've done with this show so far. It really is. Especially when, wouldn't you know it, this Crate Dragon is hiding out in a Sarlacc pit. An allegedly dead Sarlacc pit. Which leaves you sitting there thinking, I wonder how that Sarlacc could have died. A Sarlacc in the area where the Jawas were, who had Boba Fett's armor, near the town where the sheriff ends up wearing Boba Fett's armor. Couldn't be that this town is right by the Sarlacc pit that Boba Fett was thrown into, could it? No, they wouldn't do that. Yeah, sure. And we get even more shots of that chunk of Anakin's pod racer, which it just offends me to my core for some reason. Can't even explain why. But it bugs me so that you would go to that extent. And from there, it's mainly, the fight between the townspeople, the Tuskens, and the Crate Dragon. And it wasn't too bad of a fight scene. At the very least, it wasn't a giant series of callbacks. And it was somewhat interesting. You see Mando and the sheriff riding around on their jetpacks, right? Which was kind of cool to see. Some more Mandalorian jetpack flying. My problem came in when they're getting beat down hard by this Crate Dragon. And Mando says he's got a plan. And just trust him, take care of the kid. So it was so painfully obvious he was about to do something stupid. And wouldn't you know it, he ends up smacking this guy in Boba Fett's armor to launch him through the air by making his jetpack malfunction. Just like Return of the Jedi. Remember how his jetpack malfunctions and he falls in? Guy even flails around in almost the exact same way that Boba Fett did. On top of all of that, Mando appears to hit the same side of that jetpack that caused the malfunction in Return of the Jedi. He couldn't have screamed, "Remember this," any harder without slapping a neon sign over the screen while they did it. It's that bad. It. I just was kind of appalled by the whole side of it, to be honest. I couldn't believe this was the extent we were going to here. And then, just to add one last cherry on top, the Tuscans are cutting and slicing up this crate dragon they've killed because they laid claim to the body and its ichor. And they're cutting through it. Apparently, you thought just to butcher it, but I guess they were actually looking for something because suddenly one of them pops up shouting and screaming with this big ball thing in its hand that looks like a giant pearl or an egg. Just, it instantly made me think of the Jawas from season 1 with the Suka, the egg from that rhino monster he had to kill. So the show is making callbacks to itself. It's frustrating. It was just all such a big callback that all culminates, mind you, with a strange man in a robe with guns across his back on a ridgeline watching Mando. And wouldn't you know it, it's Boba Fett, played by Tamora Morrison, who I love. He did the voice acting for the clones and Boba Fett in the newer editions of the OT. But yes, Boba Fett is alive. He survived the Sarlacc pit and will now be an important part of this season. Because, oh God, like as they say in The Last Jedi, no one's ever really gone. Not if Disney can repurpose them to try and create memberberries to keep you subscribed to freaking Disney Plus. Just bite me at this point when it comes to that. Just bite me. You've got to be kidding me with this bull crap. So, there you go. Pretty sure that is the comprehensive list of callbacks, unnecessary callbacks, and memberberries that were included in The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about the first episode of this new season. Did you like it? Did you think it relied way too much on memberberries? Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear it. Till then, this has been Punk 5 Pop. I'm Punk 5. See you around.